Hello and welcome. I'm super excited to have my friend 𝗪𝗡, and we're going to be talking about the subconscious side of peak performance. So join us in a moment. Welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are tuning into the Uplift. My name is 𝗨𝗃𝗃, and you'll notice that my wonderful co-host Sarah Wade is MIA only for a little while. She's got some prior commitments that she needs to fulfill, and I'm really excited to have my friend 𝗪𝗡 on the show. Welcome, Wayne.
Oh, Neil, it's a pleasure to be here. I am so honored and excited to be sharing and having a conversation that sets the heart on fire.
Yeah, and in the green room, Wayne and I were talking in prior. I was trying to figure out how long Wayne and I had actually known each other, and we think, if our old brains are working correctly, that it's somewhere around 14, 15 years.
Yes, yeah, so time flies.
So what is the subconscious side of peak performance, and why the heck does it matter?
Great question. I thought you'd never ask. Well, you know, words are powerful. So let me just dissect some of those words. So the subconscious side implies that there's something that is beyond our conscious awareness, or there's a mechanism or there's a process that is running the show or creates our habits, our memories, stores our memories, and directs our actions and behaviors. And there's, you know, people, the experts out there, neuroscientists and people that have a lot more degrees behind their name than I do, they say that 80 to 90% of our behavior is controlled by the subconscious. So all of those beliefs, habits that are driving our performance. And so there's a subconscious side to high performance or peak performance being, you know, the activities that are needed to carry out an objective or hit a goal, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a mom, whether you're a business person, whether you're, you know, just somebody that wants to connect and have a great relationship. There's always this performance aspect because life is one big performance. So the subconscious side is something I've just been fascinated with in regards to my background as a hypnotist. How do you reach the subconscious? What is the subconscious, and how do we utilize
it? No, those are my questions to you.
So it's done, is it? Is that like, did we say everything we needed to say, and we set the heart on fire? Now we can just close it up here.
Yeah. And yeah, that's how I met Wayne. And I love the fact that the very first I've seen prior to Wayne's experience, and I will say that a hypnotist show with Wayne is an experience, because it's an experience because Wayne moved from what I would say the bar room hypnotist is, and he added a whole whack of class. And what I loved about Wayne when it was all done is that he empowered people all through his show. And it was just not, he was empowering people to be a better version of themselves, which was, thank you. I absolutely love that, and I respect that about you.
Did you just freeze up there, Neil?
No. And so I absolutely love that about you, is that because you have people in a subconscious state where you could choose to program them with anything, but you chose healthy, uplifting messaging to leave your audience and your participants. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And like you said, it's always a classy show. Everybody gets their clothes back at the end of the show. And I make light of that because I think that a big part of the show with the upliftment is, and people have asked me, they say, can you narrow down what you do in one sentence? And it's tough, like, to articulate something in one sentence, right? It's, you know, being a coach and somebody that wants to get your message out there. If there was one sentence, it would be this, is that I help people boost their performance while having a blast. And so it's about being light, having fun, being uplifted. And that is one of the keys to boosting your performance at a subconscious level, is make sure that you're having fun with it.
Absolutely. So at some point in your career, I suspect you could have been at a crossroads. And I'm not saying you were, but you could have been at a crossroads. You could have taken a cheesy way out, or you could have chosen a far more classy approach to the hypnotist. What are some of the mentors that have taught you along the way? How have they helped evolve you to the classier side of hypnotism?
Yeah. Great question. I think, you know, very earlier on in my background behind the hypnosis, that I was a school teacher, teaching school before I ever knew I was going to be doing this. So I had seen a hypnosis show in a nightclub. I was blown away. And the person that I had seen, I was so enamored, like I was transfixed on what this guy was doing, is like unbelievable. So much like I didn't believe that it was real until I looked at my girlfriend who was with me at the time, and she's doing the exact same thing as the people up on stage. So I was like, okay, she just got hypnotized beside me. There's definitely something there. So he was my first inspiration when it came to hypnosis. And he actually did quite a risque show in the nightclubs. So, you know, I was inspired to take that, but I was also very drawn to motivation and motivational speakers and people like Jim Rohn and people that I just really was drawn to. So it was like a sift, sort, and select set of things where I took something for everyone to find out who Wayne was and what's Wayne's message in it. And it was something I discovered early on, and I called it the 3 E's. So the 3 E's I'll get to in a moment, but I'd seen some hypnotists using those techniques in such an empowering way that I was like, that's amazing. I want to be able to do that. Then I'd seen the nightclub act. I'm like, that's so funny. I want to do that. And I also want to get it out there to make people feel good. So I don't want to go so much on that end. So it was a real kind of a mixing and mashing of things, so to speak. But the 3 E's is that I always wanted to entertain, because I knew that was the best way for people to learn. I also knew that was the best way to get people uplifted. People will pay way more for entertainment than they will education, in the sense of, you look at the top performers in the world, they're the ones that are paid the most, right? These singers, these actors, all that. Yeah. I wanted to educate people. So I loved like how synchronistic that my background was in teaching. And I just felt though there was something in the classroom, in the system, that didn't appeal to me. It just, you know, I knew there was more for me. I love the teaching aspect. So it was like this, looking back, I knew it was like, here's the entertainment, here's the education, and the last E was empowerment. And there was a strong driving force that called me to understand that true empowerment isn't about taking somebody and giving them all the answers. It's about them understanding they have everything within themselves. And when they align themselves to that, they remember who they are, they then implement that, they then live their own life. And it's one of the toughest things that we do in this lifetime, is live our own life and own it, because so many people are living other people's lives in terms of lots of distractions, because we're born into this world where we then take these borrowed beliefs. That's what stops people, borrowed beliefs, limitations of why can't I do it, or I need to prove myself to be. So all of that is just a whole bunch of hypnosis that people have bought into. And although it appears that I'm putting people to sleep on stage, Neil, my mission is to wake people up.
Hear, hear. And I believe that's what you do.
So that was a long answer to your very concise question.
No worries. So so hypnosis, not hypnotism, hypnosis can be a very powerful tool because NLP, neuro linguistic programming, uses it, the Miltonian coaching program uses it. But how is it that you're choosing? Oh, there's our
There's
wonderful
Sarah.
Sarah. How is it that you're using,
Hi,
for our
Sarah.
viewers, listeners, how are you using hypnosis to empower people?
How am I using it to empower people?
Yeah.
Well, in the show, again, my mission is really to help people boost their performance while having a blast. And a part of that is using the techniques and the tools of getting people into a relaxed state so they're more suggestive, giving them suggestions, having these routines that also have a message to it. Like dance, I always say that dance is an acronym for dynamic and natural creative expression. So within the routines, it's taken me 20 years to have a very concise message where people go, wow, that was great, the entertainment was great, and I love the messaging. So the 60 minutes, the 90 minutes is one way that I do that. And then if people want to go deeper, you know, a lot of times we look at, say, that our worst challenges as things that are just, you know, terrible things that have happened to us. And yet there's always a silver lining if you take on a belief that there's always a silver lining and things will work out perfectly as they always are. And this is in my best, how can you say, the best timing, divine perfect timing in regards to why this is all happening, even though we don't see it. So during COVID, this leads into the next way that I use hypnosis is my wife and I developed a coaching model. We developed a coaching program. And because the events weren't on, I had that time to then dig deep and really focus in on a lot of the things that I love when it comes to hypnosis, psychology, motivation, success, and develop something on the spot. And that's true development and creativity. I think it was said once where the mother of invention is necessity. Like when you have to do it, you find a way. And so what we realized is taking people through our program, we would do these subconscious breakthrough sessions where I developed a model on to do a quick breakthrough, so people would take a belief that they didn't even know they necessarily had, that was what was stopping them. And in 20 minutes, they'd be able to reprogram or reset their subconscious to move forward fast.
And yeah, nothing like a little international, global pandemic to change your focus for you.
To stir things up a bit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For those of our viewers and listeners, we are so happy to have Sarah back on the program. And it looks like she has found herself out in nature to join us. Welcome, Sarah.
Hey guys, sorry for being late. I am in the city right now. I've been trying to run away from council workers with their gardening tools and stuff. So I hope you can hear me. I'm just going to keep putting myself on mute so we don't have that background noise. I've been watching and sorry, on my phone as I've been walking around, and Wayne, appreciate your energy.
Yeah, well, thanks, and such a pleasure to meet you, Sarah.
Thank you. I've been really curious. Obviously, I saw you and Neil have a conversation chasing success, and I was really curious. Like, you know, you've changed stuff through the pandemic. Going into 2023, where do you see things going?
For myself or in general?
For yourself, like with how are you changing things with you and your wife recently? How do you see 2023 and 2024 working out for you?
Well, first of all, I want to be doing about 50 to 75 live events, and those are primarily based in the corporate industry, corporate market. Whether I'm doing, you know, after dinner entertainment or my peak performance keynote, and doing those and reaching a large audience. So that takes care of quite a bit of like on the road. Here I go. This is what I want to do. It's where I feel most alive. That's why it's like my stage changed during COVID, where this became my stage, the exchange online. And it was great. Yet there's nothing that replaces the live in person on stage. And it's in my blood. It's in my heart. And I just, 50 to 75 of those. I'll be putting out a book this next year The forecast for it is in November. That's putting it out there and creating it as we speak right now. But a lot of it is everything that happened throughout COVID and coming up with the name, it's a transformer, but the book's going to be called Transform. You know, reset your subconscious and achieve the impossible. So there was so many of the tools that we developed there. We want to get that out to the world. So part of that is, you know, in front of all the groups that we're in front of, being able to spread the message wide and large, have a membership for that, have the book, and that will just explode into the ethers.
So when they read this book, are they going to be able to transform themselves in 20 minutes? Or is this something that you do with them, and the transformation when they read the book will take a different amount of time?
That's a great question. The biggest challenge I have is that when I have 60 to 90 minutes with any group, I just had a request to do a group of 500 in the States here coming up. And I also know that 60 to 90 minutes gives me a wonderful time to entertain, educate, and give them a few tools to help them empower themselves. But I would be kidding myself as well as kidding everyone to say, you know, people change in 60 to 90 minutes. And when I say change, they don't really change. They just wake up to remember more of who they are. So I believe the opposite. They don't change themselves. They, you know, I honestly believe we're in the age of remembering. I had seen a post where it said we're in the age of remembering. So it's not me, but that hit home so hard in my heart in regards to, that's exactly it. We are here to remember. And if you look at the word remember, like we're a member of oneness. And when we remember that, my goodness, there's not all the stuff that we have to do. We just have to be aligned to who we are, follow our heart forward in that passionate place. And so the book will have some methodologies, some frameworks, some simple tools that people can use on the spot to help them remember that they're already whole, complete, and perfect, that they can make decisions which are really the essence of changing their subconscious programming, and also some simple daily disciplines that really develop better habits for themselves.
I love the Wayne's, like he said at the very beginning, that words are powerful and words are magic. So Wayne, in my experience, Wayne doesn't dwell on the etymology of a word, but he surely pulls apart the acronym. It creates an acronyms of multiple words. And at one point in time, I think you said it was out of print on one of my conversations, you have a book of acronyms, and I think the book was called Magic.
Life's Magical Meanings. I've got 2 copies in existence. One is right here. The other one's right here, because I use them for my coaching program, where I'll actually flip to a page and it'll be one of the words, right? Say for instance, I think the reason I created the book too is, one is that I don't think I did that great in English. And so I was always questioning what words mean. And honestly, if you look at what hypnosis is, it's the power of suggestion to control thought and behavior. What's suggestion made up of? Words and the intentions behind them. The challenge with words are they're only as powerful as the meanings that we give them. So we're redefining things all the time. And so I find it a fascinating thing, and it's more of a selfish interest. And then I realized, you know, I could share this with others, is to take a word and there's meaning in there that maybe other people aren't seeing, or I'm seeing in a different way. Say for instance, the word love is life's only vibrational essence. And it's life's only valuable energy, right? Everything else is an illusion. So I just play with those terms. Like, and even if you look at magic, there's spells, and the way that you spell things create a word. Word is the way of remembering divinity. Okay, don't get me started.
Too late, and I'm absolutely loving it.
One more for word is way of redefining definitions, or way of representing definitions, way of reaching decisions. All of it is with the word. How are we communicating right now, right?
Good old spoken word.
What? Sorry, say that again, Sarah. It just...
Spoken word. There's so much that we can get from words, or so much we can get not just from words, you know. And I think from what you're saying is a lot of unlearning that you've put into your program, a lot of unlearning going into your show, and what you move people through with their transformations is a lot of unlearning. Would that be fair to say?
It'd be very, very correct in saying. And you know, people talk about procrastination, and people are making up all these stories, and really procrastination is just overthinking. So it's all of these stories that we're telling ourselves instead of just doing it, instead of just following through. And it's the words that people are telling themselves.
And one of my teachers and mentors, 𝗪𝗪𝗏, who's who I met Wayne through, performed. One of his lines was always, "Don't think, don't think, don't think, don't think."
Yeah.
And 𝗪𝗪𝗏 spent probably an hour and a half just on the topic of magic, your magic wand, and the spells that we create through our words and our actions and our words. And so I love to hear that you are a magician. You are bringing the word and empowering magic again, because it is truly through our language that the magic occurs. Because I can say things that can magically transform you from a happy person to a very angry person. Or I can we can help people go from of a hurt stage to a very loving stage with the magic of our words and our actions.
Exactly. And the perspective, how we see things is always, you look at respect, right? You're always looking at things differently. It's changing with those words. And I will share the 4 powerful words that get people to change on the spot if they use these words. I'll share those in a bit if you want me to. And that was a little hypnotic tool there to create some curiosity, right? One of the things that I know in regards to when people are looking at things differently, that it really reflects that we all create our own reality. One event viewed by 2 different people completely are experienced differently because of the way that they talk to themselves, how they see things, how they've been brought up. One dreadful experience here is somebody else's fortune. So when we hear this, and we hear it a whole lot, and that's why it can be very much dismissed, is that attitude is everything. Attitude is the way we look at things, the way we see things, and it's determined by our belief system. So most people just dismiss it because in the subconscious, one of the things the subconscious does, and it's one of the very main functions, is that it will reinforce what we think is true. And so if we say there's not enough time in the day, you're going to create it through validation, and you will see that. And people will fight going, see, there is not enough time. And that's why I'm not into fighting with people. I mean, I'm into inquiry. I'm into not hypnotizing people directly all the time, because there's a way, and a subtle way, of giving people a suggestion when they've released resistance. So you do that. Yet storytelling and all these beautiful forms of influence are great ways to get people to go, oh my goodness. You know, they have to come to their own conclusion. They have to come to their own influence of, wow. And usually it's when people hit rock bottom or they feel a lot of pain that they wake up. It doesn't always have to happen that way. Yet the point I'm making is that there is this sense of people want to be right, and they'll go to their deathbed being right? And we see that happening today in the world more than ever, because everybody can broadcast what they think is true or untrue. And if we just focused upon what our life is, and we didn't worry about all the other stuff, that's when we really start to perform better. That's when we have peak performance, right?
Absolutely. And it makes me think, my family, my brother and I were both at the same Christmas event. He didn't like it, and I absolutely loved it. And we're remembering. So it's remembering the same event, and it's like diametrically different.
Yeah. The need for acceptance is a disease.
Yes.
The need for acceptance is a disease, because it stops people, and it's always a decision, right? But it really is like, oh, if I say this, then people won't like me. So the need for acceptance is a big issue in the world. And so my idea of empowerment is people just owning their own life and living it on their terms.
Yeah, but why did we choose a place that's got us in minus 30 degrees right now?
You mean you don't like it? Hey, I always look at, hey, I got a snowblower. Man, am I ever happy I'm doing that? I could do it in 10 minutes rather than push the shovel, right? So
to add insult to injury, sir.
My reality is 30 degrees positive, so it's 34 degrees in Perth here today. So you know, we've both spoke to the reality people and found what suits us. And what I found interesting this year, my daughter's 5, Wayne, and for those of you who are watching, you know, she's a really cool kid who's learning a lot of stuff, and she's been learning about synonyms. And synonyms is something, I mean, it's hard for a 5-year-old to say, but it's really interesting to hear adults talking about it. And once she brought that up, I actually brought it up with some of my VIP clients a couple of months ago. You know, when we're using our words, you know, going on to what you were saying, Wayne, about reframing things, you know, picking up the old thesaurus is actually really beneficial because we can see the meanings of the words, you know, sort of step back a bit and look at it, what does it really mean? So, you know, expanding our vocabulary actually really does help us to figure out where we are now and where we're going. And I absolutely love that, watching both like the combination of adults and children all learning all about synonyms. I almost said synonym because that's what mine keeps saying. It's tasty.
That's cool. I love it. I love it. And it is so true. And you know, there was a quote in the book that I published, and I forget who said it, but it said that all words are a living organism. And they really are. I mean, if you think about it, you think about like the poetry, you think about people have gone to war because of words. People have fallen in love because of words. Like, it's just this beautiful richness of communication. If you look at communication, it's come unify, right? Communicate. It's like coming together. Communication is everything. It's not a sexy word, communicate. So we sometimes have these marketing things that we try to be, you know, I think sincerity and honesty is so important nowadays because everybody's trying to outmarket people. And if you look at that, that's a form of hypnosis, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it, how we are being marketed too. I might have to move. I've got a guy come with a big mower next to me. It's interesting how we've kind of come full swing. You know, we've gone from being ethical to sort of some unethical practices that I'm sure we've all seen, and now we're coming back to that more ethical slant, which is absolutely beautiful, and that heart-centered approach, which really serves everyone. So it's not just a win-lose or win-win, it's win-win-win, and that's really, I think, what all three of us want, and trust that the globe is going in that direction.
Yeah.
How would you get people to start on that win-win-win journey that are sort of dipping their toes in, Wayne? What would you suggest?
First of all, me being the demonstrator of it, the shining example of it, of practicing what I preach, it really is. And I think also, like, when you say people being in that heart-centered place, that's what you're talking about, Sarah, in regards to, is decide what people want. Like, decide what you want and start writing it down. It's as simple as that. So many people, again, are chasing the shiny objects. Or, you know, I just had a group coaching session with a couple of guys that I was coaching, and I said, what's your number this year, guys? What's your number? And the number being the financial number that they want. Okay, so they threw a number out there. I said, why do you want that? And they were pretty good, actually. But most people are like, I want $1 million. Because why? Well, because other people want it, or they don't know exactly how to answer it. They don't know. So when people get really clear, and clarity is such an antidote for failure, or for, you know, clarity is key to then be real. Talk about what you want and not just follow what everybody else is doing. So I don't know, that's one simple step. If people take that one thing away, they decide what you want and write it down, because most people never do it, actually.
Absolutely. And one exercise that I found useful was adding things up. So not just a random number, but actually, one number times another number equals this. And does that work with my time? Actually, maybe I can fit a bit more in, or no, I've put too much of myself in. Peel back a bit there, Sarah, and get really clear on the clarity of the whole situation. So it's not just I'm pretty clear. It's like it's not clear as mud anymore. You really do get that clarity. And when you've planted that seed in your mind, you can actually see it going into fruition, and then you're actually celebrating before it happens. And that brings a beautiful amount of clarity too.
Yeah. There's a method that I call the MEGA method, the mental endgame activation method. And really it is a mental endgame is you're picking the thing or the things that you want, and you fast forward as if you've already achieved it. So instead of just thinking, of your goals, it's thinking from it as if you've already achieved it. We hear that a lot nowadays, but a lot of people are still intellectualizing it. They're not allowing themselves to feel as though they've achieved it because they've been programmed not to do it, or they've been programmed not to go full in, or they've in some way have been programmed not to fully feel their emotions because they may look silly, or they, it's what kids do. It's pretending. Pretending is absolutely fascinating, and it's one of the most powerful techniques that I teach is to pretend. And when Neil said to me before he went on, he says, "Are you ready?" I said, "I'm going to act as if I'm as ready as can be." And so acting as if is a really powerful tool in hypnotizing yourself to have the clarity and the confidence to flow great communication, to flow great emotions, to enjoy life as it happens, even with the mower in the background.
I was played for a Division II soccer team, and we were in our version of the World Cup. And the coach brought in, which I didn't know at the time, was an NLP coach. And he's taking us through the exercise of not that we had won our game, not that we had won the championship, but we were now giving a speech at our kids' graduation of what that event of winning that cup meant to us.
Yeah.
So and it was moving us forward in how it had impacted our life. And I was like, what is this guy? But it worked, and it worked for me because I was able to envision, and that not everybody was maybe in the right mindset, but we did win.
Well, one of the things that people may not, and that's awesome because you fast forwarded into the future and you locked it into your psychology, your body, your memory, right? One of the people, I'd like people to ponder this. And the question is your imagination and your memory the same?
I already have a man crush on you because you use the word ponder. It's one of my favorite words.
Doesn't Winnie the Pooh say ponder?
Yeah, and because to me, it's so non-intrusive. It's giving permission to imagine.
Yeah. And that's exactly what just happened is in order to answer that question, you had to imagine, okay. Or, you think about it, when people fast forward into the future, they're literally time traveling there. They've picked out what they wanted, which a lot of people don't do. They don't take the time to do it. And so they did that. And then if I asked them, so what did you just think of? They have to remember what they just thought of. So our imagination and memory are crossed over. And the other thing is that when people go into their memories, they're using their imagination to recreate things. It's never an exact. And so people can mold it because of the imagination. So the imagination is really where creation happens. And even if you look at Image Nation, it's the world of images, right? And even if you look at it, it's got magic in there. Mag, right? So it's fascinating how that all spells out.
It's really interesting too, like having multiple people in the same spot and their memory of the same situation being different. So think back to like 9/11, people were remembering things that didn't actually happen, that they couldn't have imagined because they weren't there when it happened. However, they saw it on the television. So in their mind's eye, they saw smoke, or they saw this or that or the other happening. And with that power of their imagination, you know, it's all twisted into their memories and changed the whole situation for them.
Yeah.
Curious. Yeah. Have you got any other examples?
Of other examples of?
Like maybe like the Mandela effect. You know, things kind of changing. We remember, but we don't remember things are slightly different, you know, with the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Do you think of any other examples?
I am going into my memory right now. And what's coming up for me right now is, and I'll get back to it. There'll be something that pops up. There'll be more example in regards to memory and how it's tricked us. Because I'm thinking of specific studies that have been done, and but I know there's one, so I'm going to come back to it. But I want to share with you the power of our imagination and memory combined in regards to people fast forwarding. In my own life even. I know that when I was involved in the sport of amateur wrestling, and that's where my performance background comes from in terms of I was involved in one of the toughest sports ever. I mean, I'm a little biased because that was like, I've never been so nervous in my life, one-on-one, and I got beat up the first year. And then I eventually came across this amazing coach, and these amazing wrestlers were a team. And my coach asked me, he said, how well do you want to do this year, Wayne? And I said, well, I want to do really well. He says, no, specifically, how well do you want to do? Because I didn't cut it. And I said, I want to make it into the finals of the Canadian Amateur Wrestling Championships. And so he said, Wayne, here's all the things you need to do training-wise. And he said, the one other thing that is super important is to see yourself as if you've already achieved that every day. And so I took that to heart, and I spent time doing that. And even to the point where I was in school, I remember in math class, my body was turning this way and that way because all I was doing was visualizing myself in the finals. And I did poor at math that year, yet did really good at wrestling. And so as the whole year went on, I had tons of tournaments, won tournaments, lost tournaments. And then finally we make it to the national championships. I've never competed at that level before, but he told me everything I had to do. I put in the work. And I had this mantra, and it was like, I'm going to make it into the finals. I'm going to make it into the finals. And so I win my first 3 matches, super nervous, made it to the final. Made it to the match just before the final. And I'm wrestling somebody that was a lot more experienced and a lot stronger. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to make it to the finals. I'm going to make it to the finals. And so I get in my stance. We go back and forth for 5 minutes. I think it was back then. And the whistle blows, and it's a 3-all tie. So it goes into sudden death overtime. Not like soccer in the World Cup, which was a barn burner the other day. This was sudden death overtime. I get into my stance, whistle blows. We're grappling around the mat. We go out of bounds. I come racing back on the mat, get back into my stance, and the referee comes over and raises my hand. I was like, yes. And I have no idea how I even got the point, but I got it going out of bounds. They awarded me a point. So I was like beside myself. I was like, I just beat this guy. I said, tomorrow is the finals. I'm going to win the gold. And so I was super excited and very confident. The next day, get into my stance, the whistle blows, and guess what? I lost. And I knew that the guy that I wrestled, I actually beat him at a previous tournament. And I said to Glenn, my coach, I said, what happened? He says, well, let me tell you, it's pretty apparent what happened, Wayne. I go, well, tell me, you're the coach. I was getting a little mad. And he said, what did you focus upon all year long? And it hit me like a brick. I was like, I focused on getting into the finals. I visualized getting into the finals, and I did not pay attention to winning the finals. So I was disappointed. I was distraught, actually, because I knew I could have. Silver was great, don't get me wrong. Yet it propelled me to then go, what do I want next year and the year after and the year after? Gold. So for the next 3 years, I won gold. And Glenn always told me, he says, the only thing, like, people aren't broken, nor do they need to be fixed. The only thing that needs to be fixed is their focus. And so focus is really run by the subconscious. It's all the things that we've put out there. And when we talk about memory and we talk about imagination, when you set the intention, your memory is going to pick up what you've intended. So I don't have like an exact scientific research of something that an antidote that I could share or something, but in my own life, I know how powerful that was for me, because it was a combination of realizing, now looking back, that what I imagined then became what I always remembered, and that always played together in regards to creating my own reality, creating the peak performance, creating the results, and also being able to deal with all the struggles along the way. Because there were some real big turning points in my life where, when you talk about 9/11, one of my big dreams was to have a Vegas show. And so you want to talk about like this dream that happened in 7 years. I had a group that reached out to me. They found me on the internet, which was really, how can you say, in its infancy at the time, but they found me. I had a website. They said, we want to bring you to Vegas. You got a great show. Come down there. So I had it all mapped out. We signed, the contract. And just before this was going to happen, 9/11 happened. And so everything went sideways on me. And so I thought, I was distraught again. But I said to myself, what is next? And I now realize that everything that happened in my life like that, and again, there's a lot of turning points, I always know it's for a reason. And the reason is serving me in some way, shape, or form. And the meaning that I attach to that then becomes my memory of it and my imagined future going forward. So I know that wasn't answering the exact memory thing, yet it brought out my own experience.
So I know there's an acronym for focus.
Yes.
And what is it?
So focus is, and I've got numerous acronyms, but the first one came to me, I kid you not, I was driving in Alberta, going to Saskatchewan. You probably won't get this joke, Sarah, but you can see it from here, meaning it's thousands of miles away, but you can see Saskatchewan, it's just flat. And I had my two guys in the back. This is back in the early 2000s. I'm driving my motorhome, and I said to my buddy Corey, I got an acronym for focus. It literally was the first one that I put in the book. And he says, what is it? I said, it's fixed, ongoing concentration, unlimited success. And he says, that's pretty darn good. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a genius in my own mind here. I kid you not more than 10 seconds. I had to pull over. I look at my gas gauge. I ran out of gas. In the middle of nowhere. I mean, the middle of Saskatchewan. I love Saskatchewan though. And the synchronicity or the sign, the meaning that I took from that is that, whatever you focus on, you get. Just be really clear on focusing on what's powerful and important to you, or you'll run out of gas. And we talked about this, Neil, in terms of like, when you get to a certain point in your life, you realize that you live more life than you have left. And urgency is a pretty cool thing in the sense of getting yourself to create things and not stalling. And so fixed ongoing concentration is that whatever you fixate upon, you're going to have unlimited success in that. So if you fixate upon the negative, then you're going to get very much a lot more negative, and you're going to be successful in that. And so it always just resonated with me is that it's a fixed ongoing concentration, because moment to moment we get to pick our concentration, what we're focused upon, and it's always a decision. And this is a great door opening right now to share those 4 words that help people program themselves in an instant. Out of all the tools that we taught people in terms of relaxing their mind and going into a state where they're more receptive to, accept a suggestion, these 4 words were the 4 words that, by the feedback of all the people we coached, were the most insightful and helpful in getting them through the day and changing their mental programs. So guess what it is? It's an acronym.
Really?
Yes. And it spells the word mind. Okay. So MIND is me, I now decide. Whatever comes after those 4 words is how you live your life at a subconscious and a conscious level. Now, when people start waking up to who they truly are and they go, me, I now decide, there is enough time in the day and I can get whatever I need to get done, and I got tomorrow to do the rest. Me, I now decide I'm as clear as I need to be to move forward. Me, I now decide. The challenge with affirmations for a lot of people is as soon as they say an affirmation, their mind goes bullshit because they're fighting the natural inherent ability of our and function of our subconscious. One of the things that we've been gifted with, and we all have it, is that everything is a choice. Now, if people don't believe everything's a choice, that's a belief there too. So if you take the power of your will and the willpower, which is want into living life, another acronym, want into living life, and you realize that your willpower is the ability to make a decision, then those 4 words create absolute ownership, freedom into living the life that you want. So when you talk about like, does it happen in an instant? Yeah, it can happen in an instant. Yet most people need to repeat that throughout the day when they catch themselves in a state where they feel less than, they feel out of the flow state, they feel negative, they feel anxious, and they go, me, I now decide I'm enough. Me, I now decide I don't have to beat myself up. Me, I now decide I can do this. So in the hypnotic world, it's called a pattern interrupt, but it's one of the most powerful pattern interrupts that I've discovered. 4 words helps them remind themselves to remember who they are. Me, I now decide. And the power of decision is everything.
And going back to that decision and with the concept of me and now decide, you know, if you've got some shadow stuff coming up, like I don't believe whatever that affirmation, me, I now decide, it's going to bring more of that awareness into your particular activating system. And suddenly, you know, you're seeing that focus everywhere and it's just coming in and you're just celebrating constantly. It's a beautiful gift that you shared with our Uplift audience here. I appreciate that. I appreciate you brought you on and I appreciate that you shared that, Wayne.
Yeah, no, it's like I've always wanted to distill all the things that I've done on stage that sometimes I don't even know why I'm doing them, or that I've learned and it's become a habit. And I wanted people to walk away where they can go, I can use that right now here on the spot. You know, like even in my show, I teach people, you know, a number of negative programming words that people can start to replace. And so it does come down to the words. It comes down to exactly knowing what to say to yourself, when to say these words, and knowing that we're creating all the time in the now. So if people are not living in the now and they're always putting it off, they've created a habit of always putting it off. So they're creating that program in what we call the negative trance trap.
I want to add to that too, from an art therapy perspective, where words just, you know, it's not just about words. If you add and subtract, you know, symbols, or you create a shape, or every time you see a triangle, you know, you're implanting that me, I now decide. This is that new meaning of that new word. So you don't always have to use words to change the meaning that you've made. You know, you can look out and say, every time I see a tree, you know, it's going to remind me of X, Y, or Z. You know, and those little things to help us along the way can make a huge difference.
Yes, and it's about our emotional state of being, right? That shifts. Great point. So like one of the things that I've done with that mega method is I have people visualize and feel as though they've achieved a goal. And then as soon as they do that, there's 3 anchors or 3 activators that I have for them. The first one is to think of a color. And usually it's a color that just automatically comes to them. And it may not even be their favorite color, but subconsciously it's all meant to be. And so that color is associated with that feeling of success. The other one is a strong movement, like yes, a fist pump, or putting the hand to the heart. And to act as a reinforcement for that, it's those 4 words. Me, I now decide to achieve what I want. Me, I now decide to let go of what's stopping me. Me, I now decide I'm enough. And so the more mind triggers, and mind triggers are just any word or, you know, any symbol or particular stimulation that causes you to react without thinking or seemingly, like you say, you combine those symbols and it acts as a quick activator.
And on top of that, you know, anchoring like things in your finger, you know, there's all sorts of ways that we can do that. And Neil, I interrupted you. You've got something amazing to share.
I don't know if it's amazing, but it was powerful for me. I'm in Sri Lanka with my brother-in-law, who is from Sri Lanka, and we're in a tuk-tuk. We're driving, and he is lost. and the tuk-tuk driver doesn't know where we lived. We had been in the city for 24 hours. We're in a city of like 5 million people. And he turns to me, my brother-in-law turns to me, says, okay, smarty pants, you never get lost. Where the heck are we? And where's home? And I'm going, shit, I don't know where, cancel that. I know where home is. And I look to my left and I see the temple that we're like 5 miles from, and I knew how to get home from there. And I go, there where we go this way. And it was like, but prior to that, we were lost.
Yeah.
Had no idea. And the universe, God, whatever you say, just, and my belief said, we're not lost. I knew we weren't lost. I just wasn't looking in the right place. So
Yeah.
once I opened myself up to look in the right place, ta-da!
Love it. The magic.
Isn't there a song about I was lost, but now I'm found? Like, was that your story, Sri Lanka? Like, did you guys meet up there and then suddenly that song went epic? Like, is that what happened?
Nope. He was just really happy because he was feeling pretty sheepish because he was supposed to be the experienced guide because he was from Colombo. And he was lost. Oh, well, it's all good.
Yeah.
So, Wayne, if our viewers, listeners in replay, in live, wanted to get a hold of you, I am going to assume that this is probably the best way. But what could, which is your website. So, besides having the opportunity to book your show, which is one of the things, is there an opportunity if they go to your website for them to learn more from you?
Yes, there is. That's a great question. And again, that's one of the things that I would love more than ever is to help a lot more people in regards to what they're going through. And notice that through COVID, there was a lot of people struggling. And so it was wonderful just to be able to connect. And the blessing that just came out of it is the people that we connected with and the pure reward that we got from it. So we do have a Transform community membership, and it really is a membership that's built with the people that are in it, so they help one another, and the tools and the teachings of the Transform teachings, which are hypnosis, methodologies, and techniques to help people overcome their subconscious blocks and live their life on their own terms to create the life they truly want. So that's on the website. And again, a lot of groups now, corporate groups, are hiring me. So if people know, hey, their company's doing an event, they have a need for an entertainment or a keynote speaker. Nowadays, more than ever, people want an experience. So that's also can be something that the listeners that are looking at. That's exactly what we need for our event. So.
And
someone with that
Wayne
experience
does from a couple hundred to a couple thousand. Have you got the opportunity to get to Vegas yet, though?
To perform in Vegas?
Yes.
Oh, I've been to Vegas and done a number of events in Vegas. But to do my show, like after the 9/11 thing, and it was a redirection for me, so that wasn't my goal anymore. So even if somebody said to me, Wayne, do you want to be in Vegas now? It's like, no, not my thing. There's the disappointment turned into a redirect of something so gigantic in me living my mission on my own terms. And I got to be honest, like, I feel like I'm just getting started.
Thank you. And I love the fact that you, after the disappointment and after you went through the disappointment, you chose to refocus because you like the word, I like the word choice. You chose to refocus, because like all of us, we all have disappointment, but you chose to refocus. And what was this refocus? How did you move towards your mission?
I think I asked myself a few questions because that became part of the Transform teachings. And the one question, which is very important, is the simple question, what is next? And who am I going to serve? And what am I going to do that I love? So I call it the win question, W-I-N. What is next? And
Now there's another acronym.
and win is also what if now? What if now this is happening to serve me? And even though I went through disappointment and struggle and like, oh shit, I honestly, now looking back, I knew that I actually asked myself that form of a question. Why? Because I'm here right now, sharing this with you right now, right? It's like and it's not to shut those emotions off of sadness and disappointment. I think too many people are teaching that you always have to feel good. I think that when people do that, that's a lot of pressure. You got to accept everything and just realize what is now is a blessing. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything with it. And that's life. People are caught into this negative trance trap. And so, you know, going back to what you asked, Neil, I honestly believe anything that happens in the future that is like a brick in the head or something that comes from left field, it is a gift. Because it's a wake-up call to say, I've been asked to do more.
And yes, and once again, that's from a place of choice. And I love that. And I'm looking at our clock and I'm going, how is it possible? You know, I've had the pleasure of having interviewed multiple times, and I'm always shocked at how fast the time goes. Like, this is an hour, and it's like an hour is not long enough. So I'm going to leave with I'm going to share.
I'm smiling because I have an acronym for time, but I'm not going to share it.
The green room. So
I'll save it for next time.
Yeah. Time. So I'd like to leave with, I'm going to leave some from final thoughts. I'm going to ask Wayne to leave with some final thoughts, and I'm going to ask our divine Miss Sarah to wrap this all up. And so whatever you do, all I ask you is to do it from a place of love. Love for yourself, love for another, and whatever hardships life shows you. Just remember to come back to love. And with that, thank you. Wayne.
I end off with my coaching sessions and my sessions by saying this: be the magic and feel it.
Felt that one. Appreciate all your magic that you've shared with us today, Wayne. Thank you so much. And hey, I want to add to that. Sometimes, I don't know, we can see things through our problem glasses. You know, if we take our problem glasses off and look at things through a different perspective, you know, maybe using some of the acronyms that Wayne's brought up today or something that suits your needs, you really will see a difference in your life. So from our hearts to yours, we wish you all an amazing silly season coming up. Neil and I will be back in the new year to share more wonderful, uplifting conversations and share more amazing guests. But until then, we trust that you go out there and have uplifting conversations with your family. And even if they're not uplifting, as Wayne said, that's okay. You know, being part of that conversation and changing which lenses you look at. And until next time we speak, design the life you desire. Have fun and stay connected as you uplift each other.
Be good.